Okay, Rich Van Tassel with you here on Brookville Student Radio, coming at you from Lincroft, New Jersey. Rainy day here. Got the hurricane outside, so we're doing what we can, but everything's going all right as of now. Looks like it's not going to hit us. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down what we usually do on our YouTube channel. For those of you who watch our YouTube channel and are following us here, we're going to start by breaking down last night's Thursday night game. Now, if you paid attention to the YouTube channel, we told you that Baltimore was going to find a way to win this game somehow, some way, and that's exactly what happened last night. Now, I had it 31 to 20 Baltimore, but the Ravens only won 23 to 20 in overtime. Now, the big question marks will be, what went down in overtime. Mike Tomlin deciding to kick field goals at the end of regulation instead of for going for it on fourth down. Then in overtime, instead of kicking the field goals, he went for it on fourth down. So we'll get into all that in a second, but we're first going to give you the statistics. For the Ravens, Joe Flacco was 20 of 33. He had 189 yards passing, one touchdown, one interception. He was not spectacular by any means, but considering the pressure he was under all night long, the offensive line was doing him absolutely no favors. You really got to give him credit for hanging in there, and he made some tough plays, especially on that drive at the end of regulation to force the game into overtime. Now, running, Justin Forsett was spectacular, again showing those over 5 yards per carry that he does. He was 27 carries, 150 yards, which is 5.6 yards per carry, very impressive. A couple other runners were in there, Javoris Allen, Lorenzo Taliaferro, who I thought wasn't going to play, was on the injury report. They were 5 for 19 and 3 for 13 respectively. Altogether, 39 carries, 191 yards for the Ravens, which is just under 5 yards per carry. That's very impressive. And you need that when Joe Flacco is not playing at his best. Kamir Aiken was the leading receiver, 5 receptions, 77 yards. Steve Smith, Sr., who ended up leaving the game, was 4 receptions for 24 yards. As far as the Steelers, Michael Vick, who replaced Ben Roethlisberger, was 19 of 26, 124 yards and a touchdown. Le'Veon Bell was sensational yet again, 22 carries, 129 yards, which is just under 6 yards per carry at 5.9, and he had a touchdown. Michael Vick, 9 carries for 33 yards, which was all right. Looks like Jimmy Smith, the cornerback for the Ravens, had a pretty good day. Ladarius Webb was marking up Antonio Brown at some point, but Jimmy Smith, a guy who I'm very high on, altogether, the entire Ravens defense held the dangerous Antonio Brown to 5 receptions for 42 yards, which is very impressive. And really nothing else to write home about with the Pittsburgh receiving. Darius Haywood-Bay was 4 for 31. He was their second receiver. Le'Veon Bell 7 for 21 out of the backfield. So a lot of that I would attribute to the fact that they had Michael Vick in the game and likely weren't going to take that many chances. But you got to give the Ravens some credit there. Now, as far as what happened at the end of the game, Mike Tomlin deciding on the last 2 drives in regulation he was going to kick field goals instead of extra points. Now, I didn't really agree with that from where I am, but again, I'm not a head coach in the NFL. At that point, at best, you would have been up 6, especially the very last possession when you're getting close to under a minute left. The risk of missing a field goal is just too great. So what I would have done there is I would have gone for that. But again, I'm not really going to hold that against him. Now, in overtime, twice he had 4th downs inside the 40 of Baltimore, and twice he went for it. This is Mike Tomlin being, and twice the Steelers missed it. Now, I would have kicked it on the second one. The first one is a situation we'll get back into a little later as well regarding the overtime rule. The first one I thought he had to go for it. He didn't have a choice. The second one, though, I thought was a very poor decision. Granted, Josh Scobie, the kicker for the Steelers, had missed 2 field goals previous. But at that point, you don't expect them to miss 3. So I would have sent him out there to win the game, and you had the chance to win the game. But Mike Tomlin, he's playing to win there. He doesn't trust his kicker. I don't really have much of a problem with it at the end of the day. Now, we're going to talk about the overtime rule, and this almost really affected the Steelers, but it's something I've been saying about the overtime rule for some time now. The Steelers, the first possession, it didn't end up coming to bite them, but the first possession, they had a 3rd and about 2 yards at the 39. So they got the ball first, so they can only win with a touchdown. For those of you who know the NFL overtime rule, you only win with a touchdown in that situation if you're the first to get the ball. A field goal would mean that the other team can come down and win with a touchdown or match with a field goal. Now, I'm guessing most of you know that. follow the NFL, but we're just giving you a little refresher. So it's third and about 2 from the 39. So you're looking at about a 56-yard field goal. Even the best of kickers, you're probably not sending the guy out for 56 yards, but it is possibly doable. However, in the situation we have with the overtime rule, the implications for miss are just too grave, and the field goal does not win it in that situation. Now, what I would like to see, and people disagree with me who I've talked to about this, I think that the rule we have currently is a bit ridiculous. I would switch it to where the only team can win the game on a touchdown on the first possession. If you want to do it for all possessions, that's fine, but if both teams get a possession, you can only win with a touchdown. It's not one team can kick a field goal and the other team can score a touchdown to win. If the first team gets the ball, they score a touchdown to win, and the other team doesn't get the ball. It just doesn't make sense. It's essentially the rule I'm proposing, where you only win on a touchdown, is essentially what you have now. You just have these little caveats because the NFL is trying to outthink themselves. So, and another big thing with the current rule is if the first team that gets the ball comes down and kicks a field goal, the other team has a chance to match with the field goal or win with the touchdown. They don't have a choice. Every time when they get to fourth down, they're going to go for it. So they have 4 downs all the way up the field. And you could say, technically, yes, the team that gets the ball first does have 4 downs. But if you're fourth and say 10 from your own 28-yard line, you're not going to go for it, because if you miss, the other team's just going to come right out and kick a field goal to win. So it hasn't happened yet in the league, but I'm almost certain that once it does happen, especially in a playoff game, where a team goes down, kicks the field goal first, the other team comes down and gets, one. One may not be enough, even though I think it would be, or it should be. Well, say they get 2 or 3 fourth down plays where they move the ball right downfield and they get a touchdown and win the game. The NFL is going to change the rule because they're going to realize how ridiculous it is. They just don't realize it yet because they haven't seen it. Because I don't think anyone who's giving this much thought would not see the ridiculousness and not see the situation I'm talking about. Now, other alternatives are, I really don't have a problem with just the original rule where you have the coin flip and the first team that scores wins. That never really bothered me as is. Or you just play a complete quarter. Now, either of those are all right, and frankly, I think they're even better than the proposal I'm giving. With that being said, though, if you're going to have the rule as it is, you don't leave it as a team that kicks a field goal wins, or excuse me, if a team gets the ball first and kicks a field goal, they don't win, and the other team, if they get the ball and the other team hasn't scored, they can kick a field goal win. One team should not be allowed to win on a field goal, while another team should not. So if you're going to have it the way it is, I would just switch it to where you go to the only team can win on a touchdown. That's it. So we'll see what happens. They switched the rule, obviously, because of the 2009 NFC Championship game. It might have been 2010. Here the Saints won the championship. That's 2009 going into 10, where the Saints beat the Vikings in an overtime game where Brett Favre, boo-hoo, poor Brett Favre didn't get to touch the ball. And that's why they changed the rules. So say there's a playoff game where the scenario was laid down before, the NFL is going to change the rule very quickly because the NFL obviously has a lot of problems. They just over-regulate, oversimplify, and in this situation they're getting smarts disease. They're trying to figure out a complex solution to a problem where it's a very simple solution. There's 10 other more obvious solutions to the overtime rule from the old rule than the one they currently have, and this one's a bit ridiculous. So we'll see how that goes. All right, we're going to take a little break here. I'm going to give you some music for a couple minutes, and we're going to come back. We're going to go into Sunday's games, give you the picks as we regularly do, and the scores and obviously all that for the Sunday coming up. So let's give us a few minutes. Hang on here, and we'll see you in just a little bit.